Hello everybody, it's time for another Batman Miniature Game Battle Report 350 rep of the Court of Owls versus the Brave and the Bold, with my new table set up in my office out of the way so I can do 40k stuff as well. A brief Sora cameo down there, hello there. Oh, you're sitting very nicely, it's very adorable. But I have to record this game though. She's fine. So, yes, a new board set up on a winter map. I'm going for a winter theme of a Wayne Financial building being attacked, maybe in the aftermath of a Mr. Freeze assault. Let's take a look at the crews that will be playing today. So for the Brave and the Bold, it's the exact same list as last time. Not because they didn't do well, but because I really want to see Nightfall Batman and Flash do a little bit more. Hopefully not get too many paradoxes this time, etc. So list is exactly the same as the last time for the Brave and the Bold. Nightfall Batman with Damian Wayne as his sidekick. We have Arkham Guard 2 and 3, I think, for the henchmen, and they have cuffs, I think it is, so that they can arrest people that are casualties. And then we have the Ezra Miller Flash as a free agent, and as far as objectives, they're taking the exact same three, which is medical, ammo, and although it did nothing but generate victory points for the enemy team last time, the bat signal, just to try and make that work for them again in the future. And here we have the Court of Owls crew. By the way, apologies if you see, like, I can actually spot one right now. Sora's hairs are all over this table. She's shedding her winter coat at an alarming rate. You wouldn't think one little doggy would shed so much hair, and it gets everywhere despite numerous attempts to hoover it up. Anyway, this is the Court of Owls crew that you just get from the Court of Owls bat box. So it's led by Lincoln Marsh, and then you've got Jacob Cobb, Strix, and Zhao, I think this one is called, and then as a free agent, the Gotham Butcher at the back there. As far as extra equipment, Strix has a magazine, a grapple gun, and ancient training, which gives her Master Fighter. And William Cobb, which is this one, otherwise known as the Talon, he has climbing claws and a camel vest, so that gives him stealth and the ability to hang off buildings. Objectives: 2 Ace Chemicals, 1 Loot, and 1 Titan Container. They're mostly just going to try and get in there and have a brawl, more so than anything else. But let's take a look at the scenario that we're going to be running today. So, as a car goes past the window, it's very warm today, so the window's open. We're going to do Scenario 5, which I think is one of the ones that we did when we were playing a tabletop simulator game of the Batman miniature game. So, objectives are put in a 12 by 12 square in the middle of the map, so they don't follow the normal rules for placing objectives. 6 round length as normal, and as far as bonus objectives, 3 victory points to the first player to control one of their own objectives. If both players control one of their own objectives by the end of the battle round, then each player gets 1 victory point instead. And then teach them a lesson, 2 victory points to any player if, when the game ends, the combined reputation value of casualties is equal to or more than 50% of its total reputation. So as long as you kill at least half the points of the 350 rep, you get 2 bonus victory points. Didn't do Scenario 6 because it's a bit... it picks on whoever player B is. They don't really get an advantage, as far as I can tell. So that's not a particularly great one. So secure the area. Again, that's what we're going to do. We will set up lampposts and sewer gratings and objectives, etc., and then be back at a look at the board as the game starts. So everything is deployed and we're good to go. However, it pays to actually sit and read the scenario rules, because not all objectives need to be set up in that 12 by 12 box in the center of the map. The rules actually say that one of your objectives must be set up in this 12 by 12 box, one must be set up using the normal rules for whatever objective type it is, and one must be placed in your enemy's deployment zone. So we definitely did that wrong when we were playing this scenario in Tabletop Simulator. At least we caught it here at the start of the match. As far as deployments go, diagonal edges in an 8x8 kind of diagonal are the deployment zones. So the Brave and the Bold had a corner here, corner over the far side of the table. Court of Owls has a corner here and a corner there. So the Court of Owls set up their loot objective in this corner for the Brave and the Bold. The Flash has decided to deploy next to it. Arkham Guard 2 and 3 are there. There's a lamppost there as well. Over here, one of the Court of Owl deployments, ammo was set up for the Brave and the Bold, so Strix and the 1980s Talon are deployed next to that. Gotham Butcher is right there on the edge of the table. This isn't it's meant to be a 3x3 table. It's like 2.9, so there's a little bit of hangover, annoyingly. Let's see, there's a sewer grating next to them. Lamppost, Titan Container, lamppost, Ace Chemicals, medicine, and then the bat signal is up here because it can be placed on a building. Sewer grating up there this time though, and another lamp. Then we have a lamp here. In the other deployment for the Brave and the Bold, we've got Damian and Nightfall Batman, along with a sewer grating. And then finally, round here, up in the corner, we have Lincoln Marsh and the Talon with a sewer grating as well. So that is deployment. I'm going to come all the way back around here now. We will be doing the Speed Force first before Battle Round 1 starts proper, but let's just go into the bag here and see. Pink for Brave and the Bold, green for Court of Owls. Court of Owls will be getting first activation on Battle Round 1. So before Battle Round 1 properly begins, the Flash is going to choose to try and do Hyperspeed, which uses up all of his Speed Force, all 6 that he's allowed in a turn, and that means he can be placed anywhere on the board when his activation comes around when he moves. It's got a 5+ chance to do a Paradox. That would be a Paradox. Excellent start. 5, 6, 7, 8. We had that one last time. 8. Too tired, the model is knocked down, receives 2 stun damage. Excellent start for the Flash there. Now we'll move on to turn 1 proper. So after the disastrous Speed Force attempt, we're into Battle Round 1 proper with the Court of Owls activating first. Zhao, the 1980s Talon, opted to activate, and he's pretty fast. Like, the Court of Owls in general are pretty fast and very damaging, but not super tanky, I think. Either way, he basically sprinted from where he was next to the Ammo because Strix has got that on lockdown more or less, or will do once her turn is activated. Dashed all the way here behind this orange car, and then spent a special counter to crouch just in case any of the Arkham guards decide to take a shot at him. He's making a beeline for the Titan container, which is one of their objectives because he wants to try and snag that before the Brave and the Bold can snag any of theirs, which might be harder now that the Flash is on the floor. Anyway, we'll move on to the Brave and the Bold's first activation for Battle Round 1. So for the first activation for the Brave and the Bold, the Flash activated, very embarrassed for himself, picked himself up off the floor with 1 movement counter, then used a movement and a special, then used another movement first to pick up the loot he started base to base with, which belongs to the Court of Owls. Then spent a movement and a special to take the sewer grating, so the Brave and the Bold have used their 1 sewer teleport for this turn. He opted to teleport all the way to the central square. The loot's going to be moved onto his card, it's just there to denote rather that he's now holding on to that, and he's in the middle of the map surrounded by potential objectives, but also potentially in danger depending on who can reach him. But hopefully he'll make up for that. He's still got 2 special counters left over to maybe heal those 2 stun on top of the basic chance he has to recover at the end of his turn. If that doesn't work, then next turn he'll probably use fast metabolism to try and get some healing done as well. But we're back over to the Court of Owls next. Next activation for the Court of Owls was the Gotham Butcher, who is exceptionally fast, although he's not able to hold objectives. He only gets victory points from killing, because that's what he really likes doing, I guess. There's another one of Sora's hairs, and there. How can they land on the table? How do they land up when she's lower? I don't understand. Anyway, doesn't matter. The Gotham Butcher is exceptionally quick. He has his base movement of 4, he's a huge class model, so that's an extra 3, he's fast, so that's an extra 1, and he can put 3 movement counters into his movement stat. So when he wants to, he can really pick up speed. So he was all the way back here, and he has just sprinted all the way here. He had 1 special counter left over, so he's crouched, although because he's huge, he gets a -2 to his ping rolls if it was relevant. Either way, that kind of positions him very dangerously close to the Flash, and depending on what Damian and Batman do, maybe close to them as well. Oh, hello again, Sora. She must have heard me mention the Flash, I don't know. So, yeah, he couldn't do anything else this turn though, so passing back over to Brave and Bold. Next activation for the Brave and the Bold, and Nightfall Batman decided to activate. He's pretty slow for a Batman because he's wearing heavy armour, but he does have a back claw, thankfully. So from here, with the back claw, it gave him a total movement of 15 or 16, and he can move vertically if he wanted to. That gave him just enough. He should actually be like even further out from the edge ever so slightly, but just to make sure he doesn't fall off and get damaged. That's where he's positioned. He could not manipulate the bat signal this turn, so it's looking like it's going to generate at least 1 turn's worth of victory points for the Court of Owls, who we will be seeing who they activate next. A real quick activation for the Court of Owls next. Strix activated, and because she's already in base to base with the ammo, there wasn't much she wanted to do. She crouched and activated the ammo, so +1 magazine on top of the +1 she bought for her throwing knives. But other than that, she's staying there to hold that for a lot of victory points at the end. That's the Brave and the Bold's objective though, so it won't activate the bonus objectives for the scenario. Does mean they're going to be generating a lot of points at the end of the battle round though, so now we're going to hand back over to the Brave and the Bold to see if they react. With no desire for the Gotham Butcher to do what Solomon Grundy did in the last game, Damien decided to get out of dodge. He hopped over here, then used his back claw as well, basically ended up right next to Azrael there, also unable to manipulate the bat signal this turn, but safe for now from the potentiality of being smushed to death 2 games in a row. Quick turn there, and now back to the Court of Owls. So a couple of quick activations to cover here. Turn 1 is just a lot of posturing and manoeuvring as is normal. The Talon went next and he just moved up. He's heading towards the centre of the map to cause a little bit of a ruckus there. Then for the Brave and the Bold, Arkham Guard with the riot gun, sorry not the riot gun, the riot shotgun, moved up and crouched next to the Batmobile, which is going to leave Lincoln Marsh for the Court of Owls to go, and then to end Battle Round 1 we'll have the other Arkham Guard, so let's see what they get up to. So ending off the final 2 activations of Battle Round 1, Lincoln Marsh is not afraid of Batman, so he took the sewer grating up onto the roof here. He then crouched, although it doesn't really matter, but he's up there. Maybe he was expecting Bruce Wayne. He's going to be surprised when he sees a Batman using a mech suit, more or less, or an Iron Man suit, I guess. But he's gone up there to challenge them. He might be able to get backed up by the Talon if the Talon has climbing claws, because that just lets him scale up the side of buildings without needing a grapple. To use their normal movement, that is. And then finally the Arkham Guard with the assault rifle, basically just sticking with his buddy. He activated and is just following along. He also just crouched behind the Batmobile there, in position. So that's all the activations for Battle Round 1. I'm going to tally up the points now, but none of the bonus scenario ones are going to be given because nobody holds their own objective. So here's things as they stand at the end of Battle Round 1. The Flash was only able to recover one of the 2 stun he took from trying to use hyperspeed. In terms of victory points, the Brave and the Bold got 1 for the Flash holding on to that loot. Other than that, they didn't get any. The Court of Owls, they get 1 because the bat signal is still switched off. So it generates 1 for them until it's switched off, and then it generates 3 for Brave and the Bold after it's switched on. It can, however, be switched off again. They also got 3 for holding the ammo with Strix in the bottom corner there. So at the end of Battle Round 1, 4 victory points play, only 1. Everything to play for though. Let's see. Reach over here to the bag real quick. See who's getting first activation next turn. Next activation. Oh, the Court of Owls are getting first activation in Battle Round 2 as well. To start Battle Round 2, the Flash is going to play things a little bit safer this time. He is going to use Metabolize Wounds to remove 1 damage marker. In other words, the only stun he had sitting on him, which costs 2 of his Speed Force. He's going to use level 1 and level 2 for a total of 12 extra movement. Neither of them cause a paradox. That leaves him with 1 point, so he will use Fast Combo, just so he has extra strikes as well. So to start off Battle Round 2, the Court of Owls decided to activate the Gotham Butcher. It was going to go with Lincoln Marsh, but it was a rare chance to actually nail the Flash before he could zap away. So Butcher just leaped and bound over there. This Flash is hard to hit though. He's got defense 5, so it's a 5+ to hit, and he can have 5 defense dice obviously, which he anticipated being attacked by the Gotham Butcher. 1 attack got through though. The Gotham Butcher has claws, so that's 1 blood, 1 stun per hit that does manage to fully wound. So the Flash took 1 wound, or sorry, 40k. 1 blood, 1 stun, but he's okay. He starts with I think 7 endurance. So now he's hopefully going to get the chance to flee. Although that's only clear and present danger immediately, so he doesn't necessarily need to flee immediately. In general though, it would be a good idea to back off. Let's see what happens. For the Brave and the Bold's first activation, Damian Wayne hopped over the barricade thing there. He activated the bat signal, so it's now classed as being switched on. He couldn't get into base to base obviously because he's already moved, so he threw his batarangs or batlings, whatever they're called, at Lincoln Marsh. Lincoln Marsh is pretty tanky. He deflected them, so Damian did nothing. So hopefully he's going to live once Lincoln decides to retaliate. Although Batman is still there and he might be the more pressing danger. Let's see what happens. So for the Court of Owls, Lincoln Marsh did indeed decide that it was time to retaliate. He has a couple of options when he attacks. He has retractable claws and reinforced gloves, I think. Well, he definitely has retractable claws, but he also just has the standard Court of Owls Talon knife, which is handy and sharp, so he gets to reroll failed wounds and hits as well. He opted for the knife just to try and do guaranteed damage, and amazingly it turns out Damian can actually sometimes survive a round of combat. It can happen. He still managed to get one hit with the owl knife through though, so that's 1 blood on Damien. That leaves him on 4, I think. Yeah, 4 endurance remaining. He's alive though, and he did block the signal, so Lincoln couldn't contest. I don't think the bat signal can be contested. I think it is just a case of, is it switched on or is it switched off? Probably not going to matter this turn, but it might matter eventually. So either way, as far as damage goes, he definitely could have been hurt a lot worse. It does make me wonder what would have happened if he just went for volume of attacks with the retractable claws as opposed to the owl knife. Because well, that said, he gets 5 attacks. But either way, what's done is done. Let's go to the Brave and the Bold's activation. So the Rooftop Tussle continued with Nightfall Batman activating and moving in with Lincoln Marsh. He has retractable claws as well, or just claws, either way. Although with the flash on the map it means that nobody can be made a casualty via bleed damage, so I'm not sure if it automatically converts into stun or if it just means when they would normally die they're spared. Either way, Nightfall Batman moved in, gave a mean left hook, only 1 hit got through, so it did 1 bleed, 1 stun, and knocked him down because of matching the result on the collateral die. So Lincoln is on the floor, but still very much alive. I think he has 8 endurance, so he's down to 6 remaining. And that's going to conclude the tussle on the rooftop for this battle round anyway. Now we can actually move to the rest of the battlefield and see what happens. Turns out we weren't quite finished with the Wayne Financial Building. William Cobb the Talon activated next, and he has claws as a result of buying him extra equipment, which just means he can scale vertically as part of his normal movement. He doesn't need to use a claw or anything like that. So he used all his movement points, he ran up the side of the building using the claws, and he's now standing there. He did not have anything left over to crouch, however, but he's obviously going to go back up Lincoln in the brawl that's going to carry on here for most likely quite a few rounds. Next activation was Arkham Guard 3 with the Riot non-lethal shotgun. From his position, he took a shot. He would have had ping rolls obviously because he's ducked behind a car. Didn't matter, rolled very badly, didn't even get the hit rolls. So he missed, he shot and then opted to move. He didn't have anything in movement, so he could only go the 4 inches, and now he's hiding right under there, that sign, heading towards the danger and also objectives in the middle. Right, covering a couple of quick activations here. For the Court of Owls, Zhao activated, he moved to the far side of a Titan container, he claimed it and used it, so he has a Titan dose. He then crouched. In return, Arkham Guard 2? Yes, whichever one with the assault rifle. From his position, shot. This time the ping roll was required, no damage done. He then decided to stick with his buddy and move up a little bit. Sorry for the shadow there. There it is, that's a bit better with my hand out the way. Moved up just a tiny bit, so they're both in there. So in terms of people still to go, Strix for the Court of Owls, and honestly she is just going to camp the ammo for the victory points, honestly, and crouch in case she gets shot at. So let's just say that's what she did. So that just leaves the Flash, who has a big movement. He's in base to base with the Gotham Butcher though. Let's see what he decides to do, because there's a lot of options. So to round off Battle Round 2, the Flash decided to be a little bit brave. He used not Hyper Combo, but the other one, so for every 1 attack he makes 2. So in other words, with his 3 attack dice they become 6. And he can attack and then move. So he threw some punches at the Gotham Butcher. Gotham Butcher has tough skin, so damage rolls have a -1 penalty. He only got 1 stun through in the end. However, he has mixed combat style, so he gets to do a free kinetic blast when he moves as well. And that did much better. So in total, the Gotham Butcher took 2 blood and 3 stun. The Flash then moved. Didn't move very far, so he didn't really need to use Super Speed Tier 1, Tier 2. He moved in combat. In connection? Is that the word I was looking for? He's base to base with the medical supplies. He didn't use them, but he is at least controlling them to get some more victory points. We'll be back in a minute with the Battle Round recap. At the end of Battle Round 2, the Flash recovered 1 stun, the Gotham Butcher did not. As far as victory points go, let's see, the Brave and the Bold, they have the medical supplies, they have the loot, and they have the bat signal switched on. Also, the medical supplies are theirs. However, if we go over to the Court of Owls, they have their Titan container objective, and they have the Brave and the Bold's ammo objective. So one of the secondary conditions of the scenario have kicked in, but because the battle round has ended with both crews having one of their own objectives in their possession, it's 1 victory point extra each. In total, that puts us at... the Court of Owls still have a 1 victory point lead on the Brave and the Bold as we go into Battle Round 3. On that subject, statistically it's more likely that the Brave and the Bold are getting first turn here, but it's not impossible that it'll be 3 in a row for Court of Owls. Let's see. Nope. Brave and the Bold are getting first activation in Battle Round 3. To start Battle Round 3 and the Speed Force, the Flash is going to take it a little bit safe. again, just in case, because he has the Butcher bearing down on him still. He is going to use Metabolize Wounds to remove the 1 blood he has on him, so he's back to full health. He is going to use Fast Combo, and he is going to use Muscle Growth. So for every 1 attack, he makes 2 instead, and also he has +1 to damage and any strength test he would be required to have. That does leave some unspent Speed Force. Actually, how much does that make? Let's see, that's 2, 3, 4. He has 2 left. He might as well use Super Speed level 2 in case he wants to flee afterwards. So sure, why not? None of those have paradoxes. So that's what's being used. Now we'll get to dishing out dice and starting activations. So to start this battle round, Damien activated and decided to pick on the target that had fallen over on the ground. Also looked into the not being allowed to kill people rule, but we'll get into that in a second. So using his combo katana, which means for every 2 AC spent attacking with his katanas, Damien gets an extra attack. He unleashed an array of slashes on Lincoln Marsh, who was still knocked down because he hasn't had an activation yet, so they were capitalising on that opportunity. A knockdown target gets hit on a 2+. He's got sharp, so he re-rolls. Actually, I just remember, doesn't Lincoln Marsh have body armour? He has power armour, which I think might be able to negate some of the damage. 6 blood got through, which will be enough to knock him out. He isn't a casualty because he still has 1 stun, but if he had been made a casualty it would have been fine. The rule that the Flash has just specifically says as long as he's alive you can't do a coup de grace. It doesn't say you can't kill someone outright, it just says you can't coup de grace them when they're on the floor because you've got honour. We'll look into what power armour does, so back in a minute for an amendment. Good job we double checked that. Power armour means 2 things. One, you can spend special counters to ignore damage. He didn't put any into special, so that's irrelevant. But secondarily, damage rolls have a -1 modifier. Damien usually hits on a 4+, so that would have made it a 5+, so actually only 1 hit got through, so he only did 2 blood. That still hurts. That's putting Lincoln at a total of 3 blood, 1 stun, so he's at half health, but it does mean he is still in the fight. So first activation for the Court of Owls, Lincoln Marsh decided to get a little bit of revenge against the Wayne heir and stood up and said, "What did you say to me, you little etc." and unleashed his retractable claw attacks and knocked Damien down. He's not unconscious, he's not a well, he is knocked down, but he's not a casualty, he's not knocked out. Knocked down, yes. And because it's claws he's using, retractable claws, that's 1 blood, 1 stun. Coupled with the damage he's taken already, that puts him at 2 endurance remaining. And obviously he's now on the floor and in trouble. But I'm sure it's going to be Batman's turn next to try and do something about that. Nightfall Batman activated next. He didn't quite manage to finish off Lincoln, unfortunately. He got 1 blood, 1 stun through from 1 attack with his claws, got a 6 on the collateral for an extra stun. That's leaving Lincoln on 1 endurance remaining, but very much still alive, which is going to be a problem for Damien if the Court of Owls get first activation, or if someone else, say the Talon over there on the corner, decides to activate next. Let's see. So in the battle over the Bat Signal, William Cobb, the Talon, activated next. He only had 1 movement counter because he needed 6 inches to make it into combat. However, he wanted Damien, however the movement would only allow him to get roughly there. I don't know if the Batman miniature game has a rule similar to 40k where if 2 people are on either side of a banister they count as being able to fight because they're in close combat. If he was moved there they would not be able to touch bases. So my assumption is that's not possible, so instead he went after Nightfall Batman. And that was a good example of being able to test out how sturdy this Batman is. He has medium armour, which is a -2 to his hits, which means that William was only wounding on rolls of a 6. So nothing got through. He went for a volume of attacks rather than severity by using... He has a knife and then he has an owl knife, but he can combo with one of them. It only does 1 blood instead of 1 blood, 1 stun. He tried for that, didn't matter though, the medium armour just pinged them all away. So that combat is ongoing, it's getting very messy. Oh, there was a 6 on the collateral die though, so 1 stun did get through to Nightfall Batman, but that is it. So now we're actually going to see what's happening in the rest of the table finally. So the next activation was Arkham Guard 2, and this is probably the best turn he's ever had. He had a clear line of sight from where he was standing, over there behind Arkham Guard 3, for the Gotham Butcher, who's obviously a very large target. 3 shots every time he uses one of his magazines, 3 hits. The Gotham Butcher has -1 to damage rolls. Would have been 3 wounding rolls for 3 blood each, so it would have been 9 blood, turned into 6 blood and a knockdown instead. But that doesn't matter because the Gotham Butcher already had some damage built up from the Flash hitting him. He had, how much was it? It was 2 blood, 3 stun, which gave him a total of 8 blood and 3 stun. He only has 8 endurance, so he is a casualty. He has been killed. Also, all the Court of Owl people have a rule that's called Reanimated Owl, which lets them get back up from being knocked out easier. But if they're made a casualty, they give up 1 extra victory point, so that is very nasty. He then just shuffled a little bit because he had nothing in movement, so 4 inches that way. That was a super effective turn. That was a 26 rep killing a 81 rep. Pretty good. And now it's over to the Court of Owls again. The 1980s, Talon Zhao decided to activate next to get in there for maybe some revenge. The assault rifle using Arkham Guard is out of ammunition, so he's no longer much of a threat, so he charged the riot gun using 1. Whiffed a little bit, but still managed to do 2 blood, so he's got 3 endurance left. And also now he can't fire the shotgun at full rate of fire. He's going to have to back off if he wants to use up his... I think he has 1 shot remaining. No, he has 2 remaining. He has 1 more ammunition than the assault rifle using 1. So we'll move on now and see if he's going to activate. Although it was giving up an expensive objective, the Flash could not stand by and let the Arkham Guards get annihilated over however many turns it would have taken. He used his super speed level 2 plus his normal movement to get into base to base with Zhao Long, and then unleashed his flurry of attacks on the back of his head. Managed to do 3 stun, which leaves Zhao at 3 endurance remaining, but they're locked in combat. Was it worth giving up 3 victory points at the end of a turn to do this? In the long run, maybe. I guess we'll see. Quick wrap up with the final 2 activations of this battle round. Strix is still just sitting on the armor, the ammo, to claim the 3 victory points at the end of the turn. And then the riot shotgun using Arkham Guard backed up, only firing rate of 1, unfortunately, but it was enough to get 1 hit through. So that's 2 more stun on Zhao, giving a total of 5 stuns sitting on him, so he has got 1 endurance remaining. And that is the end of Battle Round 3, so we'll be back in a second with recovery and recap. So nice and easy Battle Round 3 recap. Nobody recovered from their stun markers, those who had any that aren't dead, which was Lincoln, Zhao and Damien. As far as points go, the Brave and the Bold, the bat signal was on for 3 victory points. They made a free agent knocked out for 3 victory points, and then another 1 victory point from becoming a casualty. The Flash is still holding on to the loot as well. And I think that, for Court of Owls, it's holding on to the ammo, and that is it, because the Titan container was abandoned and the medical container was abandoned as well. So we'll now move on and see who is getting next activation. It didn't matter for this battle round, but just realised because the Flash is holding on to the loot, he needs to spend 1 additional move counter when he is moving, outside of using the Speed Force powers, I would imagine. So he should have had 1 less defense dice than he did, but he didn't get attacked in this battle round. Would have made a difference in the battle round before that though. But either way, drawing a counter, the Court of Owls is getting first turn in battle round 4, which also means that the Brave and the Bold are guaranteed to get the first round in the final 2 turns after that. Just quickly, battle round 4 is going to be the exact same as the last turn, so super speed level 2, fast combo, muscle growth. Doesn't need metabolize wounds, so I guess we'll throw in super speed level 1 as well. So to begin battle round 4, and just before his most likely inevitable demise, Lincoln Marsh decided to get 1 last dig in at Bruce by attacking his son. He has 5 attacks, but he was hitting Damien on 2s because he was knocked over. So he split his attacks, 3 on Damien, 2 on Nightfall Batman. The 2 that got through to Damien did very well. Wait, no, I did that the wrong way. It was 3 on Damien, 2 on Batman, just to guarantee the kill. Otherwise those numbers don't make sense. All of them hit, all of them wounded, for 3 blood, 3 stun, vastly outweighing, that alone would have been enough to take him out, but he already had some wounds. So Damien is a casualty, so he also has the invaluable role, so that's 1 extra bonus victory point beyond what you're going to get for the Court of Owls for taking out a sidekick. The attacks that got aimed at Nightfall Batman did nothing to him, and now he's most likely going to reprise. Nightfall Batman activated next and unleashed all his attacks just to try and guarantee the kill on Lincoln. Didn't actually get the kill, only got 1 blood, 1 stun through, which gives him a total of 5 blood and 4 stun. He has 8 endurance and that adds up to 9, so he is knocked out, but he is not a casualty. And because the Flash is still alive, Nightfall Batman, as much as he might want to, can't do a coup de grace to finish him off, so Lincoln can possibly get up. But for now he is knocked out and obviously very severely wounded if he does manage to wake himself up at the end of the turn. We'll see. Next activation for the Court of Owls. The Talon's in no rush to retaliate immediately, so Zhao activated next for the Court of Owls. He opted to ignore the flash because the flash is very hard to hit, let alone wound, when he has a lot of defense dice as well. So he went after the Riot Gun Arkham Guard 3, I think. Did well for his hits, and then his first set of wound rolls were here, which were 2 2s and 2 3s. He needs a 4+ to wound, but he has the sharp roll. Not a problem, you might think. However, that's the Arkham Guard that has hockey gear, which counteracts the sharp roll. So he didn't get to re-roll them, which otherwise would have done a lot of bleed damage and most likely made him a casualty. Instead, as a result, has done nothing. Ezra Miller's flash activated next and just used the Speed Force movement to clear the distance he needed to get into the back of Zhao. Unleashed his flurry of punches yet again, did 3 stun. Zhao already had 5 and he only had 1 endurance remaining. Thus, he was knocked out. Not dead, just knocked out. So there is a chance he will come back. But he is down and out, which does not make things look very well or good for the Court of Owls. It's their activation next though. Couple of quick activations. Strix is just holding on to that objective for 3 victory points because she basically has to. Hindsight, obviously, her and Zhao changing trading positions because Strix is a bit of a monster in combat. She can combo with those katanas. She definitely should have been the one charging the Arkham Guards and Zhao should have been the one holding the objective. But that's not how things played out, so yeah, she's just camping. The other Arkham Guard moved into contact with the Titan, did not manipulate it, but is controlling it to give some victory points at the end of the turn. So all that leaves is the Talon. So Talon did his best to try and get through Nightfall Batman's medium armor, but he couldn't. Well, he did a little bit. He used his owl knife so he could reroll hits and wounds, but the hard part is because of the -2 from the medium armor on damage rolls, he's needing 60s, so despite having a lot of attacks, he only got 1 through to deal 1 bleed damage to Nightfall Batman, who's otherwise basically fine. So now we're going to do the recap for Battle Round 4. So to recap, turn 4, Nightfall Batman recovered from the 1 stun he was sitting on. He still has the 1 blood he won't be able to get rid of, but got rid of the stun. Lincoln Marsh did not wake up from being knocked out. Zhao, however, did. So he is going to be getting up next turn since nobody around him is willing to do a coup de grace, or are able to. As far as victory points go, the Court of Owls knocked down a sidekick for 2, made a casualty of a sidekick for 2, and Damien has the invaluable roll, so that's +1 victory point there. They still hold the ammo in the corner here for 3. The Brave and the Bold took out a henchman for 1 victory point. Took out the leader for 3, I think, I've forgotten now, hang on. Knocking out a leader is 3, I think, or 4. It's one of the 2. Where are we? There we are. For knocking out the leader is indeed 4. Lincoln isn't a casualty though, but 4 for being knocked out. 1 for the knockout on the henchman. 2 for the Titan. 3 for the bat signal being turned on still. So the Brave and the Bold is starting to run away with it here. We also know for a fact, because there's only 2 icons left in the bag, that the Brave and the Bold is definitely taking first turn in the second last turn of the game. So we're back in a second with the penultimate turn. So to quickly go over the Speed Force turn for the second last turn of the game. Super Speed level 1, Super Speed level 2, Fast Combo, Muscle Growth. First action was Nightfall Batman in an attempt to attack the Talon. He whiffed with all his hits and did nothing. Very disappointing, but the Brave and the Bold are definitely in the strong position here, so they can afford to make a couple of bad rolls. Let's see how the surviving 2, or technically 1.5, well no, 2.5, sorry, 2.5 Talon Assassins react to this. So taking the advantage of managing to wake up at the end of last turn, Zhao hopped onto his feet and took a swing as best he could at the Arkham Guard because he was easier of the 2 targets, barely obviously, still ignoring the sharp rule. Only managed to get 1 bleed through, giving him a total of 3 bleed damage, so he's got 2 endurance left, so the guard is still standing. The same might not be said for Zhao very soon. Next, the Flash activated and used his flurry of punches, this time whiffed with all of them, so he had to use his mixed combat style rule to let off another kinetic blast. That shot into Zhao did 1 bleed, 1 stun, rendering him unconscious yet again. The points don't get given again though, but he is out of the equation for, hopefully, unless he rolls another very good endurance roll at the end of the round. That'll be him for the rest of the game, but we'll see. So that only leaves, let's see, who's still to go. The other Arkham Guard for sure The Flash, oh, the Flash was going to move at the end of his turn after doing that. He's using Super Speed 1 and 2 to get back there. But we'll be back with the next activation for Court of Owls. So this is kind of going to be a quick recap of the remaining activations for the penultimate turn, because there was just a lot of sitting on objectives more so than doing anything else. This Arkham Guard's out of ammo, he's just going to sit on the Titan container to claim it. Strix is obviously just going to claim the ammo to try and keep the Court of Owls in it. The Riot shotgun using Arkham Guard hopped the wall to be in base to base with the Ace Chemicals. As I said, the Flash should have been teleported over here, but just to show where he was meant to be after finishing punching Zhao, that's where he should be. The Talon did not manage to wound Nightfall Batman, however he did move behind him where Damian used to be and switched off the bat signal. So it's ending the turn in the off position. We'll be back with the recap in a second. So as we move into the final battle round of this game, we have a lot of victory points to cover. In terms of people waking up, Zhao did not wake up, so he's unconscious for the rest of the match. Lincoln March did wake up, so he'll be recovering on 1 stun marker for the final turn, so he might at the last second get to do something of relevance. In terms of victory points, the Court of Owls hold the ammo for 3, and the bat signal is switched off for 1. The Brave and the Bold have medical, they have the Ace Chemicals, they have the Titan, they have the loot. I think that covers everything. So the Brave and the Bold well ahead with victory points. We know the Brave and the Bold are getting first activation in the final turn, so let's see how that plays out. So we're into battle round 5, and really the only thing that's going to matter, because most people are just sitting on objectives to run out the course of the game, is what happens up here on this roof. So Lincoln did wake up, and we have the Talon there, and we have the bat signal, and of course Nightfall Batman, with Brave and the Bold going first. Nightfall Batman activated, he did 2 attacks on Lincoln and 2 attacks on the Talon. The 2 on Lincoln landed, rendering him unconscious yet again. Did not do enough bleed to actually make him a casualty, so he doesn't give up any additional victory points. The 2 on the Talon missed, so Lincoln can no longer do anything. Oh, he then moved slightly and switched on the bat signal. So really it just comes down to what the Talon does. The rest of the turn is as it was, so let's see how that goes. So for the Talon's turn, he tried to wound Nightfall Batman and was utterly unable to do so. He did switch off the bat signal again, just as a last hurrah, let's say, to deny 3 victory points. But that is it. As I said, everyone else is just sitting on objectives. The Flash is just going to sit on that objective. Apologies for the car outside. This Arkham Guard is just sitting there. This Arkham Guard is just sitting there. And Strix has no choice but to sit here. So we'll be back with the final recap. So here we are at the end of the game, the first showing of the Court of Owls. Obviously some mistakes were made there. Definitely you want Strix in there trying to assassinate people. It was very unlucky of the Butcher to go down the way he did, just from fantastic rolls from the last bullet of the assault rifle. If that hadn't have happened, he most certainly would have annihilated the Arkham Guards. But things did go in the Brave and the Bold's favour. As far as that final turn, the victory points for the Court of Owls came from the bat signal being off and the ammo box. But the Brave and the Bold had medical, had Ace Chemicals, had Titan, and is that it? Is that it? I think there was something else. No, either way. So, the final scores, as it stands, as I check my notes, was 29 victory points to the Court of Owls and a whopping 42 to the Brave and the Bold. Definitely some mistakes. As far as placement of objectives, I'm not sure what, if anything, could have changed. As I say, it was just really unlucky what happened to the Gotham Butcher, because he's pretty tanky and dangerous. It's just, if he didn't have the tough skin rule, he would have taken 9 bleed in 1 turn, which is very rare to happen. But that's the way things go. Obviously Strix was misused. As far as the fight on the rooftop, Nightfall Batman, as it turns out, obviously is exceptionally tanky. The Talon probably should have just left Lincoln to his pride and joined in the foray in the main square there, because he too, when he's not hitting someone that requires a -2 to damage rolls, or rather gives themselves a -2 to damage rolls, and normally is, well, the Talons all kind of hit on 4+, with the exception of Lincoln, who's on a 3, and the Gotham Butcher's on a 2+, but the Henchmen Court of Owl people are all wounding on a 4+, which is a 50-50. So when you're trying to hit a Nightfall Batman with medium armour, it makes it really, really tough to get through that damage roll. So unfortunate. We'll probably see the Court of Owls again next time up against either a Joker crew or a Bane crew or something like that on this same board, because I'm very happy with how the Winter Gotham board has come out. Thank you very much for your support. By all means, point out anything you think might have been done incorrectly, with rulebook citations if possible. But thank you, I hope you enjoyed. Check out, I'll try and remember and link the appropriate playlist as an annotation pop up towards the end of this video, so look for that if you want to just pay attention to the Batman battle reports or the 40k ones as well, if you're not interested in the general gaming stuff. But thank you for watching, and ta-ta for now.